Well, that sucks.
Right
Pretty
now,
much.
I have to stop saying
Yep. Not the way you wanted to start, but recent history, the Stars lose game one. For the 8th straight time, Dallas loses the first game of a playoff series. We're going to break it all down. We'll take your super chats and all that implies right here on the DLS Stars Post Game show.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars Post Game show. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light and Happiest Hour. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, check out Happiest Hour for the best spot to watch the NHL playoffs. Alongside Craig Ludwig, I'm Owen Newkirk. After the Stars lose game one of their first round 2025 Stanley Cup playoff series with the Colorado Avalanche, 5-1 is the final score. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're joining us for the first time or you haven't yet. Help support DLLS as we continue to grow. And of course, don't forget, get those super chats in. We will be taking all of them very, very shortly. Luds, overarching themes here is Dallas continues to do what they've done over the last 5 playoff seasons, which is, or 4 plus going back to the bubble because they missed 1 year there in 2021. They don't win the first game of a playoff series, and now 8 straight, spanning back 5 years.
Yeah, it's, you know, especially with an opponent like this. I mean, it's a tough game to lose versus the Avs because, you know, in my opinion, they didn't have everybody going. You know, and mainly number 8. I mean, MacKinnon was MacKinnon. He was noticeable. Makar was noticeable, but he missed the net a lot. You know, I think he had something like 10 or 12 attempted shots tonight, hit the net 3-4 times. So he's going to get better. The good news is, I think for Dallas, is they were a better team tonight than what we saw, and that closed out the season. And I think starting with the goaltender, you know, Jake was really good. Jake was good. The other guy at the end was maybe a little bit better. But, I mean, again, all this talk about hadn't played a playoff game and stuff like that, he just proved that had nothing to do with it. But he was excellent tonight. And a couple of the goals were you know, nothing else you can say, fluke goals. I mean, they're goals that went in off of, you know, one lucky little bounce around and one went off a leg and in the net. And then they, you know, and then you have to open up a little bit because you're trying to push, you're trying to get close and close it in as that third period's winding down, and that's what happened.
In the last couple of weeks, the game that this most resembles was the Winnipeg game, where it was a pretty tight game, except for in this one, nobody scored in the first period. Whereas Winnipeg got a late first period goal, you know, a little tip play, and then they got another one in the second, and then the Stars opened up in the third, and they got shredded and lost 4-0. But I felt for the better part of 40 minutes in that game, the Stars and Jets were going toe-to-toe. It wasn't much between them. Tonight, it felt even tighter, but in a similar vein, no goals in the first. Then the Avs got a couple goals in the second period. Dallas gets one back. We'll go through these as we go through our post-game show. And, I mean, they're right there. The problem is, and Luds, you said this in our pregame show, get the lead against Colorado. Have them have to chase the game because then the Stars can counterpunch. And unfortunately, they fell behind in the second, clawed back within close, but when you're chasing, that is tough. And then a breakdown, it's 3-1, an empty netter, 4-1, all of a sudden it's 5 on that one. It doesn't really matter. But as that played out, I mean, there's very little between these two teams, but when you're, you know, losing position, I know it sounds so obvious, but that is a really difficult place to play against a good team.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you talk about the first period, the shots and the things that were created were on special teams. And we talked, you know, earlier, and I mean, a lot of times playoffs are about special teams and goaltending. And, you know, for the first half of the game, 2/3 of the game, that's exactly what it was. You know, Dallas found a way to kill off a 5-on-4, then a 5-on-3, and And again, your best penalty killer has got to be your goaltender, and Jake was. He finished the year with something like a 9, I don't know what it was, 14 save percentage, which is ridiculously good when he's shorthanded, and he proved it again tonight. But I got to give credit to 3 guys that were killing those, because they did a perfect job. And you're doing a good job when players that have the power play are trying to go through that triangle. The one thing you always say on a 5-on-3, don't go through the triangle, because generally they keep it tight. They tried a couple times. They thought it was there. They took it away. So Dallas was good in that area. Mackenzie Blackwood at the other end of the rink, when it went the other way and there were power plays down there, he was just as good. So, I thought what Dallas did, coming off of everything that we talked about earlier before the playoffs started, they gained momentum, but they did it in a good way. They did it in a way where they didn't have to open things up, and they actually even tightened things up. And we got a couple clips here. This is totally different in the D zone than what they were playing coming into this. And, I was complaining a lot about how their guys are always spread out in the D zone, and there was too many opportunities to get the puck through the edge. But now all of a sudden, this is the way you play. This is how, when teams want to try to slide something through there's no space to go there. They have to go around the outside. So they bought themselves time, and then it, and again, you're going to go over it. It started, that goal that got it going.
Yep.
And I know it went to review and all that other kind of stuff, but that's kind of how it started. Oh yeah, there was a shot from John. Go back to the
Nashville game.
The Nashville. This is where they were before. This is how their coverage was in the D zone before. And so you can see a drastic change to what they did in the D zone starting tonight. And it made a big difference. The high danger chances weren't coming one after another. So that part of the game they cleaned up, and it kept them, where they were for most of the game. And then it turned. It doesn't turn. The good thing is they didn't just kind of buckle when that goal went in. It goes to review, and it was a goal. I mean, I don't know how everybody says, well, it's a kicking motion, and again, I'm not glad that they came back, but I'm saying that it would have been crazy if they would have called this a kicking motion.
A deliberate. So the rule is that there's the distinct kicking motion, but the player has to deliberately do that. Can you? I know you're going to agree with me. There's no way you could say that Artturi Lekhonen intentionally kicked that, or did he have any idea that puck was there going on his foot? Because I think he's just crashing and kind of.
Of all the players on the ice, I think he was the most surprised that it was in the net.
Probably.
He had no idea. Yeah, and it's just one of those. And again, that goal and the second goal, both of those goals that kind of got those guys going. That, and again, this one here though in particular was one of them. Sometimes it's a sign that of almost what's to come. And again, you have to give credit to Colorado. I mean, they keep pushing, they keep coming, and they do it. Colorado does it without opening up, and I think that's the one thing about this team is they know they want to score goals, but they do it methodically, where they're not going to open things up if something turns over and goes the other way.
Before we get into all the details, one of the big talking points we had throughout the last couple of weeks, Stars believe they can flip a switch and turn up and dial in playoff intensity and get their game to a level that they need to win playoff games. Now, they didn't win tonight, but would you say that this is closer to what you were expecting to see from the Dallas Stars? Did they turn that switch on?
Yeah, did they turn it on? I don't know what they did, but they, as I said, they played a little bit differently in their own end. We didn't see guys getting lost all over the ice in their own zone. We didn't see guys chasing out of position. There was one, I think, in the third period where Hintz was standing alone in front of Jake, and both defensemen were gone. But that was at a time when things were trying to open up. They were trying to create some offense going the other way. When you do that, but from a game plan standpoint, a game one on the road from Colorado, that they probably executed that pretty close to the way that they thought. They knew that Dallas wasn't the team that finished the regular season. They were going to get a better push in the fans and everything else, and they were able to weather that storm and then get a goal like they got to get them on the board early.
According to ESPN stats and information, the Dallas Stars' 8 straight losses in game ones to open a series is 2 behind the NHL record of 10 straight losses in opening game of series shared by the New York Rangers, which spanned from 1994 through 2006. There were a bunch of years where the Rangers were in the playoffs. And the Toronto Maple Leafs from 1965 through 1975. Now, Dallas's window is a lot shorter because they've been in a lot of series in the last 5 years. But that is interesting to know. They have never won game one in 3 now playoff runs under head coach Pete DeBoer. And going back into the bubble. So,
but all was that you said 8 now?
8 in a row.
But how many of those are actually at home? That would be the next question I would have. It again, for me, it's different if you lose game 1 on the road, because now. You
ready?
Yeah.
I do.
I'm just trying to kill time.
I appreciate you vamping for me. So let's go back to it.
Now I'm thirsty.
So Luds, as you take a nice beverage sip.
That's a Bud Light we got here now.
We are.
Can you tell we have a couple Bud Lights?
I noticed something was different about our set. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Bud Light for sponsoring
a lot of
our
blue around here.
Postseason.
You did a good job.
You did a very nice job.
But John, now there is one little blip.
My mic was muted for that entire sequence.
You're going to have to swap these out, because these are the same ones that were here 3.5 hours ago.
Oh yeah, no, they're warm.
We need them chilled.
They're
very
cold.
warm.
I prefer.
Okay.
So anyway,
so
just note to self.
Tonight at home, number 1. Okay, we're going through the last 8. Last year's Western Conference Final lost game 1 in double overtime against the Oilers. That's 2. I'm going in reverse order chronologically. In the second round last year, they lost to Colorado 4-3 in overtime. That's 3 straight at home. This is what we're tallying up game 1s at home. In the first round, they lost 4-3 to the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's 4 in a row at home. 2023, the Western Conference Final, Vegas was a higher seed, so that overtime loss was in Las Vegas. The second round of 23, that was home. They lost 5-4 in overtime to Seattle. That was right after Seattle beat Colorado in 7 games in their first round series. So that's 5 at home. And then in the first round of 2024 against Minnesota, they lost 3-2 in double overtime. They still went on and won that series in 6, by the way. So that's 6. And then in the first round in 2022, they were the lower seed against their wild card team against Calgary. So the answer to your question is 6 of the 8 game 1s they've lost in a row at American Airlines Center.
Okay, so now how many of them did they win game 2? Probably all of them.
No, because didn't they fall behind 2-0?
Oh no, 2-1 to Vegas. They lost 2-0 to Vegas
in the first 2, and they came back and won in 7. So
and again, the reason I say that stuff is because there's pressure when you're at home to win, obviously, games at home. You want to hold serve. Now there's a little more pressure.
Yes.
Because and the reason I say that is there's kind of twofold. That now they know there's no way they want to go back to Colorado down 2 games, because you're down 2 games on home ice. And I think I said this the other day on the show, I think this is where their captain comes back, is in game 3. And you're going to have some momentum. You're going to have some momentum now, Colorado anyways. You're going back, series kind of, home ice kind of tilts a little bit. And then if they get their captain back, you kind of have to deal with that wave of momentum and fandom going on in Colorado. So I would say this may be, of all those that they lost the first one, you got to pour everything into game 2. So if you got any tricks in your bag, Pete, you need to pull them out.
We're going to hear from Sam when he joins us a little bit later, but some of the Avalanche media are tweeting about postgame. Pete DeBoer on the biggest difference in this Avalanche group compared to last season. He said they are a much deeper team this year. They didn't have Mackenzie Blackwood last year.
Yeah, they also didn't have Nelson and Coyle.
Drury. 3 of their 4 centers. They
fixed their down the middle. Natchez is filled in nicely with them. I mean, I didn't notice a lot of Natchez tonight, but
I noticed him once.
Yeah.
2-on-1 that Cody Ceci broke up.
The one that he broke up.
Natchez's pass where he kind of forced it toward
that
MacKinnon.
Was perfect. Like I said,
Cody Ceci played that perfectly.
Their in-zone play tonight, I thought, was much better from what we've seen. And not just the games that they lost. I'm talking about a big stretch of the season. That was better in their zone. And then, I did like the 2-on-1, and we showed an example the other night, but it wasn't Ceci. It was Lyubushkin that had a stick in the right lane at the last second. He pulled it out, and it turned into a goal. So
if you want a positive spin on the losing 8 straight game 1s, they are above 500 in their last 7 playoff series. They've won 4 and lost 3, which means that losing game 1 has not affected. I mean, it's not good. It would be better if they would win the game, but they have been able to win more than half of the ones in that stretch that they've lost. Can they make it 5 out of 8?
The other thing that we probably ought to bring up is that probably in them other games you're talking about, they had their full complement of players. we're down a couple guys,
more,
important guys. We're,
they
Robo
haven't had
and
to play without Robo and Miro the last couple of years, for sure.
And you got a Tyler, that just came back too. So, a little more difficult.
All right. Up next, we're going to break it down goal by goal. We'll go through it, and then we'll take your Super Chats. We'll talk to Sam over at the AAC. All that coming up on the DLLS Stars Post Game show.
Well, I read this in the pregame show, and it's got a little bit different spin on it now since we're in the postgame show. So, hey, Stars fans, how you doing? Probably not. That sucked. I just figured I'd just be honest about it. Enjoy the game? No, not tonight. So let's not overthink it. What to wear? Let's put on a different jersey than you wore to the game tonight or if you were sitting on the couch. Don't know what to serve your friends, though? That's easy. Just pick up some pizza to go, grab some Bud Light to stock the fridge. You get a little extra tonight. See, now that's a little easier. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, proof of that. Easy to enjoy, I'm proving that. Remember, drink responsibly. 21 and over, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light beer, St. Louis, Missouri. I was trying to get right on the time.
I really like that you customize that, though, because you probably have a Stars win a playoff game.
I don't know what I'm going to do now for the next game because I'm going to have to go back and put the other stuff in.
You'll have to save it twice. Let's talk about Lone Star Smokeout. Barbecue and country music. What's more Texas than that? Lone Star Smokeout is coming to AT&T Stadium May 2nd through the 4th. Try barbecue from 14 teams across the U.S. and decide for yourself who's really the champ. Pair all those events each day, like Texas's Big Happy Hour, Derby Day, and Cinco de Mayo a day early. Country's biggest stars like Cody Jinks, John Party, and Midland will all be performing. Stay tuned to DLS for information on our upcoming VIP ticket giveaway for each day of the Smokeout. Kids 10 and under get in free in general admission. Tickets start at just $68. Don't miss out. Get yours at LoneStarSmokeout.com. And the favorites are the barbecue guys from Texas. All right. This is the DLS Stars post-game show. Smash that like button. We are presented here in the playoffs thanks to our sponsors Bud Light and Happiest Hour. Lud's first period, as we break this one down, we'll get to the Super Chats here in our next segment. I thought Roope Hintz and Parker Kelly had a couple of good chances early. Oettinger looked sharp. He looked like he was tracking the puck well. And then Blackwood made a great save. Mikael Granlund had a stretch pass from the left side of the defensive side of the neutral zone, diagonally across. It was really pretty. Connected, I think it was with Dodonov, who then found Hintz streaking in, point blank on the rush. Blackwood made an early save, and that was great. But then the Stars got into trip penalty problems.
That Hintz opportunity was, I don't know, I felt like that was the most dangerous I saw Hintz tonight, 5-on-5. 5-on-5. So I'm just saying, I'm thinking if you can find another option there that he can be a little bit more dangerous, and if you got to move a couple guys around on the power play, of course, because, and again, why? Because he's playing with 4 of the top 6-7 forwards on the ice.
Those penalties: Mason Marchment for tripping, Wyatt Johnston for tripping, 36 seconds apart. It was on Makar both times. He was the player that was the victim of the penalty, and there was nothing to argue about, Luds. It was stick between the skates, and he went down.
But the problem is when you play against Makar, and that was the one where Wyatt got his stick in there. You have to take an angle on Makar. You have to take an angle that you push him where you want him to go. And if you want to go straight at him, good luck, because he's got 4 or 5 different little jukes and jives, and he generally loses guys quite a bit. So those are the kind of guys you have to go slow and steady and kind of get the right angle. Make sure you force him to the wall versus letting him get to the middle of the ice, because he can do those kind of things. And, unfortunately for Wyatt, and again, I get it because they're trying to take time and space away from him. Some players you got to play a little differently. And so the 5-on-3, they killed really well. I thought the best chance they had, because MacKinnon and Makar had a bunch of shots from the perimeter, but it was Val Nichushkin toward the end of the 2-man advantage where he had a tip play in the slot. Oettinger made the save. The place was absolutely shaking. I don't know if it conveyed on television, because sometimes I was seeing on Twitter, people were saying that there were a bunch of
sort of muting of sound or bringing down the crowd noise. That place was shaking during the penalty. Every time they cleared it, every time when both of the players came out of the box, one after the other, the place was just electric. It was a real playoff atmosphere. It was a lot of fun. Then they go on the power play of their own, and boy, do they have some good chances. The best one, they had a bunch of, again, around the outside, but then Marchment shot from the right circle, kicked a rebound to Jamie Benn in the low slot, and I had that down as their best chance on that power play. That they got plenty of opportunities tonight in and around the Colorado crease. They just didn't get enough past Blackwood.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he made some crazy saves, and he was active, and he got down. I like how he gets down in his crouch, and he finds a way that he can see shots coming in, and and again, but the thing is a lot of those he was getting out. He was getting out, near the top of the crease, and I think you got to plant somebody in front of him, and generally that's a guy like Jamie Benn, but and Hintz does a good job there too, but I think you got to find a way to keep him a little bit deeper in your net in his net if you can.
After the first, the shots were 11-8 Colorado. They had a bigger edge in shot attempts. They missed the net a whole bunch. And the scoring chances were pretty close. I had it 2-2 high danger, 13-11 in overall scoring chances. Then they go to the second period, and Ryan Lindgren, 6 minutes in, takes a puck over the glass, delay of game. Wyatt Johnston, catch, spin, and shot at the top of the crease was their best opportunity. And again, good look, but Blackwood was there and made a big save. You get that goal, you have the lead. Completely different hockey game.
Yeah, you can pick out probably one or two of those, and you can look at them as turning points of the game, because right after that, not good things are happening.
Steele had a really good chance on a rebound. CC had a long shot. It was 5-on-5. Steele got a chance in the slot. Again, low slot, maybe about 3 or 4 feet above the top of the crease. But Blackwood made that save. Then Lud's the goal. Artturi Lekhonen, wrist shot on the rush, and the rebound kicks out, and he's just crashing the net and essentially kicks it out of midair. Lionel Messi would be proud of this kind of goal as it arcs up into the upper corner. It's more of a soccer goal than a hockey goal, but after reviewing it, they determined that he did not distinctly intend or deliberately. There was a kicking motion. We talked about before. He had no idea what he was doing. As frustrating as it is, and as you're hoping that maybe the Situation Room might bail you out on this one, as you can see, he's crashing the net, crashing into Maverick Bourque, and he probably couldn't replicate this again if you tried 1,000 times.
And there's nothing you're going to say that you would do differently. I mean, from anybody's standpoint, everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Maverick is taking his guy. Lekhonen just gets fortunate, and somehow it hits him in the top of the foot, and he boots it in. And Jake is in the right position and everything else. And it's hard for Jake to pick that thing up, when you got a couple bodies that come hurling at you.
That goal was at 9:30. So Lekhonen, the first goal of the series, makes it 1-0 Colorado. Then Wyatt gets called, it was the Roope Hintz penalty. 4-minute double minor for high sticking. That was a weird one because MacKinnon went down behind the Avalanche net. Then he gets up and he goes. The referees didn't have their arms up at all. MacKinnon's standing there barking at the referee as the Avalanche start to break up the ice. And I don't know if you can see it on TV. You can see it in the press box. All of a sudden, they blow the play dead as they were entering the Stars defensive zone, hitting that blue line. As MacKinnon's talking to the referee, they end up calling a 4-minute double minor. They review it. Look, I don't know about the procedure of that call, but once they started the review, it was pretty obvious that Roope got him in the face.
Oh, there was no question about it when I saw it. And then he's bleeding a lot too, from his nose. So, I mean,
I don't know if the officials actually saw it live, and I think I have a hunch. I don't know for sure. I have a hunch that they maybe reacted to seeing MacKinnon bleeding and then said, well, wait a minute, we should probably call something and review it. In the end, they got the call right. And on that power play, MacKinnon, the Stars defended the penalty kill pretty well. This goal off of Lyubushkin, and it sort of knuckles down under Oettinger. Those are 2 goals for the Avalanche. There's not much your goalie can do on that.
They changed their setup a little bit. Well, I don't know if they changed it a lot, but what happened is on the original one where it's 5-on-4 and the 5-on-3, MacKinnon's off on his other side, and he's on his forehand side.
Yep.
Over here, when MacKinnon walks to the middle of the ice, it's a little bit harder to cover because you have to go with him a little bit more. You take yourself into a different position because he's in a better shooting angle. And that's the one. I don't blame Lyubushkin. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to block a shot. Here's what I don't like. You know what I'm going to say?
I do. Go ahead.
Lyubushkin's trying to do whatever he can to keep the puck out of his net. He does the right thing. We would all do the same thing. I honestly, I would go down differently, but it doesn't matter that he's just trying to keep the puck on the net. The part I don't like is he's trying to do the right thing. It kind of flutters and it goes through Jake. I don't like how goalies look at the player that tried to do that and continue to stare at him. I don't like that. I just, it goes in, you know what? And from being on this side of things, and I did it a lot with Belfour, like you always give me a hard time about the ones that go in the net, but you're always patting me on the butt, the 9 that don't go in the net. You know what I mean? Like you're okay with those, but, and again, you don't like it to happen in a playoff game. I mean, for sure you don't like it to happen in a playoff game. So everybody's just trying to do their job.
Lud, you had the feeling that they weren't going to call anything ticky-tack in the third period, but then Josh Manson gets called for interference. You could have called cross-checking. You could have called roughing.
That wasn't ticky-tack. That was a call. Yeah, that was a call.
Marchment gets drilled in the head with the top hand of Mason's stick. Yep. Maybe sells it a little bit.
Well, it's kind of
still a penalty.
He looks like Gumby sometimes. He can bend all the way over backwards, and you get a hit in the face, and your head kind of snaps back. But when your back arches, and I'd be careful you're hurting yourself on the way down trying to sell it.
Well, they do get a power play. They played about just under the first minute, unsuccessful. Get a whistle, and Pete DeBoer uses his only timeout, rests his top players, puts it back out, and it pays off as they score. Roope Hintz with a deflection in the slot. 6:45 time of the goal makes it 2-1. At this point, they're right in it. The crowd's back energized. It's a 1-goal game. It's a nice. What did you see on the power play goal?
Well, I like the way Thomas Harley moves his feet on the blue line. He gets it and he doesn't stand there. He starts to move to his left because he's on his forehand side. The puck's come to the middle of the ice, and he opens himself up a lane. And that's what creates the whole play. And again, we've seen Hintz be that guy in front of the net. He's getting pretty good. He's getting Pavelski-like when he can move it. And you can see where a goaltender's starting to look around. But if you look at Harley, he's got that little lane just to the right side of the defender that's standing right in front of him. If he doesn't move there, he doesn't open that up. And so he does, and he finds that lane, which Thomas is really good at, and Hintz does a good job of getting a piece of it, just enough to send it the other direction. I don't know. Rantanen's standing here to the next to him. He doesn't take his eyes away, but he's trying to wave at the puck also. So maybe that had something to do with distracting, Blackwood a little bit also.
So remember, 6:45 into the third period, 2-1. At about the halfway point, little past the 10-minute mark, Mason Marchment nearly ties it. He takes a shot. It gets blocked. He pulls it back into the slot on the rebound. And from this, this is low slot, point blank, grade A chance. Blackwood is moving.
Look where the puck hits him.
It hit him in the ribs.
It almost hits him in the number. I don't think we can see it from here. I think it
hits him in the obliques, doesn't it?
I couldn't believe it. It looked like on the replay, it almost hit him in the back. And so right there, you can kind of see it a little bit. So, yeah, this is very fortunate. But again, you got to give him credit. He
did just enough, right?
Did enough to get across.
So, big save. I thought that was Blackwood's most timely save. I don't know if it was his best, but he look.
The Wyatt one was big too.
When you throw yourself, it was. When you throw yourself and you get a piece of it and save a goal, it's a big save. Well, a couple minutes later, it felt like it was save at one end and they went down and scored, but it was actually, it was a couple of minutes later. There was some play back and forth, but Devon Toews scores a backdoor tap in from Josh Manson because, of course, defense to defense is how you draw it up. And this one with about 7 minutes left, Lud's basically ended the hockey game.
Yeah, don't like it. And right here, this is a clear 3-on-2. Okay, you can see this defending, and this is Petrovic and Bichel. So it's a clear 3-on-2. Well, Petrovic doesn't look over his left shoulder. Now what he does is he starts to play heads up. I believe that's O'Connor.
Playing one-on-one, basically.
He turns a 3-on-2 into a 2-on-1. So now all of a sudden the numbers are in favor of the guys with the puck.
And look at Manson sneaking in there as they cross the line, too.
That's where the pass is coming
basically
from.
Into a 4-on-2.
That's a pass where it comes from. But then the next thing is, now Bichel, he plays, now he's got to kind of hold it here. He's got to hold this lane so it can't get over there. From a goaltender standpoint, you want to keep the puck on the same side that it enters, so I don't have to move across. But now Bichel, as he starts to come to his left, now the pass goes across, and then it's just basically an empty net or a little tap.
John, can you go back 2 frames to the entry along the blue line, please? Right there. Jamie Benn is trying to recover in. Is he thinking that if the forward, I think you said he thought it was O'Connor, he gains the line. It was O'Connor because he got the second assist.
Yeah.
is he thinking he's going to try to break up as Petrovic holds it up, or should he be looking to try to help the guys on his right, mainly the passing lane to Manson or maybe to Kitty
if anything, if you can't get over there arrive at the right time, you just come down the middle of the ice. If Jamie comes through the middle of the ice, it makes it more difficult for them. It's so easy to look at this stuff. We're going frame to frame, but everything's going to kind of happen, and it's happening at lightning speed. To me, if Jamie just comes down the middle, but it all starts with the first defenseman that doesn't play the 3-on-2, because if Petrovic stays more in the middle of the ice, that forward doesn't cut across the middle of the ice. He will continue to go down the wall, and that's what buys time for your third man getting back into the zone. And he doesn't. So he plays heads up on him. Now, all of a sudden, the middle of the ice opens up. Jamie doesn't have time to come back. And then when Bischel decides to come over to his left, he's got to buy time here, too. Once this puck gets over here, Bischel's just got to stay in the middle of the ice. Hold your ice and let that puck come down here. Let Manson take that shot instead of this. Because now Jake is going to come out, and he wants to challenge on this, and he can't. He does, and then next thing you know, it's this.
So just to summarize, because Lud's made some really astute observations here, John, go back one frame to that one right there. If you're looking at this, and of course, if you're listening to us later, I'll describe it. Manson's at the right point entering the zone, whereas Toews is down in the left circle, just in the inside, heading toward the low slot. Manson is not the dangerous location here. Toews is much more high danger position.
Yeah.
Would you rather have, and Lud's already answered this, you'd rather have Manson because that's not threatening compared to Toews that is. But sometimes, as you said, Luds, defenders get caught thinking about puck first and forget that.
On this O'Connor pass over here to Manson, Jake has now come from his right side to his left side, and now he's starting to come out. He's going to come out and try to start cutting this angle down because he wants the puck to stay there. But it doesn't, because Bischel wants to come over here. It opens up the other one. So Jake probably comes to his left. Can't see it here. But Jake would come over here to Manson's side, and now he's got to reach back because he's expecting a shot to come from here. But again, you have two, I don't want to say young defensemen because Petro's 30 years old, but Bischel younger, right? He's 20 years old. So to me, it starts with Petro. He's got to allow that forward to stay down the wall instead of come to the middle of the ice. You want the puck to go down the middle or down the walls, because when it comes to the middle, now everything happens quicker and your shooting angles start to get better.
And isn't your whole theory of the more you hold up the rush, the longer
gives your back checkers time to get back into the zone.
Recover.
Yep.
Up next, so that was it. Look, MacKinnon scored an empty net goal, then Coyle got one 5 on 5. Those ones,
got some Bud Light here.
Whatever. Those first three were the big ones. The empty netters just sort of icing on the cake, and then the Coyle one was just game was already over. We'll talk about Super Chats next here on the DLLS Stars Post Game Show. First, let's talk about game time. Well, you might have been disappointed with tonight's result, but you know that the Stars are going to want to get back and win game 2, and you should be there in person. And the best way to do that, if you don't have tickets already, is use Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out all the fluff, Game Time Picks does. So you only get great deals on incredible seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. But it's not just on sporting events. You can also use Game Time for concerts, theater shows. Maybe you like stand-up comedy. I do. Well, you can use Game Time for all of those things. Curated deals so you get the best price on great seats, super value, and all of the extra benefits brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. You create an account. Use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Luds, download Game Time today. What time is it?
It's game time, but it's bigger game time in 2 days from now.
It sure is. Now let's talk about Sleeper. Best fantasy league platform out there. Put your puck knowledge to the test, or your ball knowledge, by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. We are going to go over our picks with John in just a second, but with Sleeper, the more picks you combine, all the way up to 100 times your money. Well, if you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including Texas. Check out Sleeper today and win some money. All right, now we have to do our end of week sleeper leaderboard. John, how did your picks in the pregame go tonight?
Well, I will remind you, these are Sam's picks, so anything I pick is reflected in Sam's win-loss column. I went a little too hard on the Avs will face a few shots on goal, and the Stars will face a lot of shots on goal, because essentially the opposite is what happened in this game. Thus, Jake Ottinger, more than, I think it was 25.5, did
Correct.
not hit. And Mackenzie Blackwood, less than, I believe it was 21.5 or 22.5.
Yep.
Also did not hit. But our guy, Esa Lindell, laying it all on the line, 5 blocked shots. So Esa Lindell single-handedly blocked about 25% of the total
Haven't I
shots.
been saying this all year?
You have.
You guys keep taking the under.
Well, he's been going
Anyway,
both ways.
I would
it's the more or
continue.
less
I would
less.
continue to take the over on Esa this.
So show the sleeper
playoff
leaderboard
time.
one more time, John. Unfortunately, we didn't get the win tonight.
No, Sam didn't get the win.
I have a
tonight.
question for both you guys.
Go for it.
Is it always 2.5, or does it ever change?
Uh,
Because every time you guys
it
get-
seems to be a very common number for ESA block shots.
What I've seen a lot of for defensemen and such, and so I don't know if sleeper does hits, but I've seen hits elsewhere before. But they tend to kind of pick a number and stick with it, and it's usually 2.5 for the blocked shots. So,
I bet you if you look up Eric Carlson, it's not. It's probably 0.
All right.
you just gotta slip in some Eric Carlson hate, don't you?
The
That's my last Carlson shot for the year.
Stars Post Game show brought to you by Bud Light and by Happiest Hour now turns to the Super Chats. And I would like to remind you, including our one Super Chat submission a couple of times tonight, that you do have to keep it somewhat reasonable with your name and also what you put in there, because we won't necessarily put it on the screen. I'll read your Super Chat, but if it is towing the line or crossing the line of good taste, we will be a little bit, what did you say, cautious about what we say on the air.
You must have a couple?
We have a couple that
dear.
are ones that maybe not the most appropriate to read
Yeah, that's all right.
on our good old DLS family show.
it's a-
Let's get to it, John.
Well, so so we're referring to the first 3 super chats right now.
All right, so let's
I
lead it
definitely
off.
cannot put on the screen.
Okay, so you can't put it on the screen. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can get all the way back to that because my feed hasn't gotten that way. Could you read?
Do you want me to read them?
Well, no, it's not that I can't read if it's.
No, I
it's
mean,
what-
I'll say it.
No, it's not about that either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, John, I'm going to need you to read that for those first 3 since I can't pull it up on
Yeah,
mine.
John, you getting
From Cale Makar. Not literally Cale Makar. It's just a guy who has
Yep.
Cale Makar as his name.
Oh, really?
Something related to Cale Makar.
I thought he was tweeting
Offensively,
from the bus.
5v5. This is a below-average hockey team for quite a while now. I missed the bing bong.
Bing bong.
And how much was that super chat, by the way?
That was for $5, and I can't do the numbers thing off the top of my head.
I can.
So-
Nils Lundqvist in the year after the cup. This is not a offensively dangerous hockey team, he says. Do you agree?
Talking about Colorado?
Dallas. Yeah, very funny.
No, I mean, not as dangerous as they could be if you had, Miro and Robo in the lineup. But again, sometimes you just have to look at the opponent, and I don't know if we have puck possession time out there anywhere, but I'll tell you what, one thing you got to give the Avs credit for, they will put pucks into the offensive zone. They're not afraid of dumping them in and getting on the forecheck and working in the offensive zone. They're going to make sure that they don't give up opportunities to stay at that end of the ice.
All right, John, what about the next one from the same individual?
Bing bong.
Same guy. Not loving the captain play tonight with a capital C, so referring to Jamie Benn, and during the losing streak, that continues. During the losing streak, ... that continues.
What do you think about Jamie Benn's play tonight? Did it stand out good
Well,
or bad?
I think where people are going to go, and I would like to see Wyatt and Renton, and again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Jamie Benn, but is there another option there?
Who would you put there?
I said it the other night, but I know Renton. I'm not sure how to do it because I don't think the coaching staff is going to break up the Duchesne line. So you kind of run out of options. And so the only option that I had was where if you took Renton in and put him on the left side and put Wyatt on the right side and put him with Hintz. And the only other reason I'm saying that is because of Roope.
Yeah.
I think it would help Roope, having Wyatt and Renton in there. And I think it's a different matchup too. I think it can become a matchup nightmare, having a couple potent lines. Because right now, and I don't even, was the Duchesne line potent tonight, 5-on-5? I think they did a pretty good job against them.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Marchman had that great chance getting to the front of the net. There were a couple of things here and there.
But to speak of
Sagan had a couple on the power play, just sort of thinking it through. They were fine. I don't know if potent, but I don't know if anybody was particularly potent.
And you have to give credit to the guys, the moves that they made, because bringing in Nelson and Coyle and Drury down the middle of the ice, it changes things.
Definitely gives them more balance.
Well, those are guys that they pick them up because the centermen are supposed to be a lot of times the first guys back, through the neutral zone and things like that. And so they do a good job not giving up outnumbered rushes the other way. I just think you may not have to change anything. They may be happy with the way the game went tonight, and in the back of their minds, they'll have different opportunities if they should get down a goal or two, sometime in the second period. You may see them start to try to create something because they don't want to go down 2-0. You definitely don't want that to happen.
Let's go to the next one.
Bing bang.
Makar, third time, also $5. The way this game ended, a few like it during the streak. This team is not, quote, all in with Pete's system, each other, or both. And I'd throw my hat.
Is that a question or is that a statement there at the end?
Sounds like a statement.
It's a statement.
Okay, so that he or she is making the claim. Nice throw. You caught the corner of the screen.
Yeah. I didn't want to knock a Bud Light over.
Yeah, well, that's always a danger now with how many are around the set.
It's just don't be knocking over any of these.
So the question is, are they really not bought in with Pete DeBoer's system? I don't think that's a problem, is it? I mean, they've been.
Well, are we talking about what part of the system?
I don't know. It was not specifically named in our unnamed super chats.
Well, I mean again, where did they finish at the end of the year? They've been playing this system since Pete got here.
Yeah.
So I think, you know what, if you have a coach that stays here for 2, 3, 4 years and you're not bought in, you're probably not going to be here. So I don't think that – I think these guys like playing that way because there's – again, I could say that I wish there was more defensive responsibility, but I think they like playing this
They like
style.
being able
and
to
they
get
have
up and
success
go.
at it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's – you got to have success in the playoffs.
I
That's
mean,
the key.
when you look at this game, and we're going to get to our next super chat here in a second, but if you look at this game, did you feel like the Stars got run out of the rink?
No, I don't think either. I don't know if I give either team an edge. You know what I mean? From creating unbelievable scoring chances. And to me, that's a win for Dallas because things and I'm not talking about just the bad stretch that we ended the season with. It's during the course of the year. Jake and Casey had to be excellent at times during the year because of things that happened. I thought the defensive zone tonight was way better.
If you rewind a couple years ago, the Stars were not as good a team as the Avalanche in the sense that you hoped that they could hang on against the high-flying Avs. And then last year, they changed. And the Stars all of a sudden weren't just hoping to have a good game to be able to hang with these. They could go into the center of the ring and exchange blows, metaphorically, and have an offensive slugfest with teams like Colorado, Tampa, Carolina, and not be, for lack of a better word, run out of the rink. They can do that. Now, they didn't win tonight. Colorado with a slight edge. They got the goals when they needed. You could easily see this game going with 1 or 2 chances going the other way or a puck off a skating in, Dallas getting the lead, and they end up winning the hockey game. It's a good game. These ebbs and flows of a playoff series. You hope that the Stars find a way to win game 2 because it's obviously a lot easier than going down 0-2. They've done it.
You throw everything in there, though. Yeah. I mean, you don't win game 2 and you're going into Colorado. It's kind of like taking a knife to a gunfight. I mean, you if it were a different team, you know what I mean? But I just think the Avs have done a good job. Their management has of putting together a team that can compete for a Stanley Cup in all 3 zones of the ice.
All right, let's get to a super chat we can put on the screen. Christian with a DeSmith and a 99 cup. You're still waiting for Rantanen to take over a game.
Yeah, you know what? I think when you think of him taking over games, it was because he played with an MVP of the league and a Norris Trophy guy that has 30 goals this year. So you're used to Rantanen coming out of games because of 2 superstars that he played with, And then when he was playing with his captain Landeskog, I mean, it was a dynamite situation for him, and he was more of a setup guy. I mean, he set guys up. I mean, he was, again, how many assists did he have compared to goals? So I just think that you might have to temper that. And again, you don't have all your bullets in the gun right now. And, so.
But also, at the same time, you don't want to hear too many of those excuses from a fan's perspective. They want to see Rantanen be the guy that can step up in the key moments. Now, look, it's also not, you didn't just pay all of that for Rantanen for this playoff. You did it for now and the next 8 seasons.
Well, we kind of built it up when the day it happened.
It's a big deal. No, for sure. But but you gave to get his extension, to get him for that length of time, you gave those picks and Stankoven not for
there was no way you were going to just give
a couple of months,
up.
Right. So it's for this and the long run. But
he wasn't a rental here.
No. But you definitely want him to be that game breaker, and maybe he will. All right, let's go to the next one.
Bing bang.
Stars 25 Cup here with a Madonna 99 Cup here. This is the most optimistic I've been in the last 3 weeks. The Stars are a few lucky pucks away from winning this game, on both the offensive and defensive side. Proud of the boys tonight, Stars in 7. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, Luds. I'm just saying that this one feels like a pretty balanced scale. It pitched slightly to Colorado's tonight. It easily could go the other way. I think this is going to be a absolute war of a series.
The easiest way to say this is this was not a 5-1 hockey game.
No.
It wasn't. And so take the score out of it. You feel like you have a chance.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, 48 hours ago, I wasn't so sure. After this game, I do feel like they have a chance. But if they don't get this game on Wednesday, obviously it's a hell of a lot tougher.
Let's go to the next one.
Bing bang.
Marshall second with a Heiskanen 99. Despite the collapse at the end, this game at least gives me some hope that we won't just roll over for this series. Playoff hockey is so fun. I know people are disappointed with and frustrated with the last 7-8 games, the last couple of weeks, and maybe the last month, even when they were winning games, people were saying, well, I don't know if they played that well. It's different. This is a good hockey team. They didn't go into the playoffs with their best form, admittedly. That was frustrating, disappointing, a little ugly. Thought they might be able to push Winnipeg for first. It doesn't matter anymore. This is a good hockey team that can win this series. Will they? No, but I'm not expecting them to just roll over and lose in 4.
No. Well, I mean, we're not expecting that to happen.
No.
They're not going to roll over. They won't roll over. They'll give it to you till the end of it.
More Super Chats, and we'll check in with Sam over at the AAC next here on the DLLS Stars Post Game Show. First, let's talk about becoming a diehard. Big shout out to our buddy Aaron Page, who is one of our newest diehards, signed up from Burleson, home of Kelly Clarkson. We got it right this time without forgetting. And he picked the Mikko Moose shirts, I was told from our boss. He'd like to see if we can get more new signups during this playoff series than our counterparts with All City and Denver at DNVR. Well, now's a great time. $36 for the first year. Introductory offer for new diehard subscribers. Think about that. It's just $3 a month, and you get so much for it, including a brand new DLLS t-shirt for free with your annual subscription. You can pick from anything in the DLS t-shirt merchandise catalog, including that Finnish Mafia shirt that John just showed on the screen. I just got mine in the mail a couple weeks ago. I've worn it, I think, twice on the show already. Really, and I did wash it between, just so you know. Really, really nice shirt. Like that one a lot. And then the new drops, which neither of us have yet, is the Jamie Benn and, of course, the Moose Mikko Rantanen shirts. Either of those could be your picks, or any of the other shirts at DLLS. And that's just one part of it, because you also get our writing from stars from Sam and Sean, the Cowboys, the Rangers coverage. Cowboys draft is coming up. That's a huge deal. We're going to do a ton of stuff from both broadcast and written form from Clarence and Joe, our Cowboys writers. The Rangers are in action. The Mavericks season just ended, but you better believe that Mavs show has got a lot to talk about. Tim Cato has a lot to write about. And, of course, it's closed now because the playoffs started, but we did do a diehard-only Discord channel NHL playoff bracket league. And a whole bunch of people signed up. I did a last-minute reminder on our Discord channel today. If you sign up to be a diehard, you get access to the diehard-only Discord. A lot of great chat from our Stars fans in the community there. Sign up today. All right. John, do we have Sam on the line, or are we still waiting for him to?
Mike was muted again. Ladies and gentlemen, hailing from the American Airlines Center, Mr. Sam Nestler.
There he is. The post-game show presented by Bud Light at Happiest Hour. And there is Sam, ready to go. Give us our full report. Sam, I did spoil one thing you might say, and that's because we saw from the Avalanche media, they were tweeting out very quickly about Pete DeBoer's comment about the depth and the goaltending difference from last season to this year.
Yeah. First of all, I think there's two quick things that to take away from this game that the players, Pete, everybody mentioned, and that is that this was better. And I know that sounds crazy when the team lost 5-1, but as Luds just said, I didn't hear a lot of the show, but I heard Luds just say this wasn't a 5-1 game, right? This team was one shot away, and one rib cage back of the pants save on Mason Marchment away from tying this game in the third period. And Pete said it was better. And I know it's going to anger some fans as I'm reading my Twitter and mentions here. I got Pete being called to be fired. Ottinger's getting dragged under the mud. I understand. It's frustrating. They've lost 8 games in a row now. They've lost eight game ones in a row now. I fully understand where everyone's frustration is coming from. But if you're looking at how this team played and you were hoping they could figure out a way to play a better game, I don't know how you don't look at that game and think they look like a better team. They looked a hell of a lot closer to the Dallas Stars team that won 50 games this year than they have in the last month or so. And Pete said this was probably the best game they've played in a month or 3 or 4 weeks. Thought they were solid. He said main things. Look at the bounces in the game, and no one used that as an excuse. They said you have to create your own bounces, and they did that. Obviously, the Lekhonen goal is just ridiculous, but you put the puck in the net, or you put the puck in the places that create chaos, that create bounces off of gloves and things like that. So you do create a little bit of your own luck, and they need to do that. They want to be harder around the net. Next game, they want to be, I mean, the amount of times there were rebounds sitting right there, and there were Stars players there fighting for it, and they just weren't able to get a stick on it and get a shot on net. That could have been such a big difference in this game. So what I take away, and what the overall theme was from Pete and the players, was they believed that they came out, they played a much better game. They needed to convert on some of their chances they had, and they fully believe in this team going into Monday. And I am right there with them.
I think that the Stars should feel that way, but they also, it's okay for fans to be disappointed, right? They wanted their team to win, especially at home, and not give up home ice so fast. However, it could easily turn the other way. Colorado, we'll talk more about this as we get ready for Game 3 in a couple of days. Colorado is not the lockdown fortress at Ball Arena that they've been in the past.
Hey, Sam, just a quick question for you. Did you hear anybody, coaches or players, say it just wasn't good enough tonight?
No,
okay.
Honestly.
Because to me,
the only thing
that's the
what
first
I just
comment
said,
that should be made. And I'm not, again, I'm taking because it just wasn't. You know, was it better? Yeah, it was better, but it's still not good enough to beat that team. They got to find a way to be better. End of story.
And the margins, I don't think, are very thick in this. I think they're very thin. I think that it could easily sway the other way. But as Lud's, to his point, you've got to find a way to execute, make a play, and win that game.
That game you had tonight, if you bring it in Wednesday's game, won't be good enough because they're going to get better.
What about Monday's game?
Monday.
You said Wednesday.
Oh, what is
Let's
today?
skip
It
it.
is Saturday.
Skipping
really?
a game.
Yeah, Wednesday will be Game 3. That is a day with a game.
I thought today was Monday.
Fair enough. No, it's still Saturday for another half
See,
an hour.
I don't deal in
Tomorrow's
days.
Easter.
It's just I deal in beers. So normally
Oh, boy.
I have Bud Lights on Mondays. That's why my thing. But okay, whatever the next game
quite
2,
the amount of Bud Lights on that
game
set
2,
there.
Colorado, I expect to be better, and Dallas can't bring the same game, regardless if they're better or not. They've got to continue to get better. So, you know, they got to create more. They got to be dirtier. They got to be hungrier. They got to win more 50-50 puck battles. They got to get more than one power play goal or whatever it is, and they got to do better. I mean, it's just anybody would know that, and it's not good enough. And their game is going to have to continue to get better as you go from round to round to round.
Yeah, I mean, the title of my article tonight was literally "Better but Not Good Enough," because Luds, you're exactly right. There was a ton to look at and say we can build off this. The problem with the playoffs is You can't keep building off it. You only get 4 losses and then your season's over. But the thing I look at with with the way they played is the breakdowns. I mean, the game changing goal is that Devon Toews goal, and that is a sloppy turnover as Rantanen kind of falls down. 3 forwards get trapped up the ice, and then Bischel kind of gets stuck in between and doesn't really take anybody, and all of a sudden it's a D to D tap in. That's the kind of play that you can't do. You just can't against this team, and those kind of breakdowns is what we've seen. Now, I will say that didn't happen 7 times in the game like we saw in Nashville and Detroit and those other games, but it doesn't matter in the playoffs. You do 1 to 2 of those big breakdowns, or as we mentioned before, Ottinger allows a soft goal. I don't think he did that tonight. That sometimes is enough. And when you score 1 goal in a playoff game, your margin of error is very, very slim. And right now, this team is living too close to that middle. They're moving a little bit more this way in the positive direction. They're playing better. They created a little more chances, created a little more chaos in the zone. The Duchesne line I thought was great, but they're not moving far enough here, and that's the problem that we feared with the way they played in the regular season. Was, can they get better and play a better hockey game in the playoffs? Yes, we saw it. They just did it. Light years better than what they played in the last 2 weeks. But can they get from middle to or negative to where they were and all the way up to playing a game that's good enough to beat this team? Not just beat him 1 time, but find a way to beat him 4 times. So far, we haven't seen it.
So I have a question for both of you. Let's make the assumption for a minute that Miro Heiskanen and Jason Robertson are not options for Game 2 on Monday. Only 2 days from now. I would be stunned if either one of those guys were playing Game 2.
Miro hasn't practiced with the team yet, right?
He was on morning skate today, but not a contact break. No. So it's time away. But let's just make that assumption for a second.
I need some more timeline, by the way.
You have Matt Dumba.
I've been out for 3
Brendan
days.
Smith, and you have Colin Blackwell, all healthy scratches tonight. If you go from Game 1 to Game 2, do you replace anybody that made the lineup tonight with any of those 3 for the second game?
I think Dumbo will be back in.
Yeah.
And probably for Petro.
Yep.
I mean, otherwise you're creating, 2 righties, and because I think the top four. Now, again, I'm not blaming anything on Petro, but I can't help but look at that goal. That's not a decision you can make when it's a clear 3-on-2. If it's a young player, that's different. And again, I like Petro. I think he can be a good 6-7, a steady Eddie kind of guy. But that, again, it's the playoffs and everything is magnified.
What about as far as Liam Bischel's performance tonight in his first ever Stanley Cup playoff game?
I think for his first game, he was fine. I just look at that again. That's a young player, but I thought his position for the most part tonight. I talked earlier sometimes when, one-on-ones he gets outside the right area of the ice and he turns a little 90 degrees more than, but I didn't see any of that tonight.
I did see a couple of times where you've made the analogy to a tractor trailer truck trying to turn. There are a couple of times where he's not the most fleet of pivot foot.
But when you pivot like that, and the other thing is he hasn't made a complete lap around this league and know every player yet, and that will come with experience. He'll know the guys that do certain things. He'll get to, as a defenseman, I'm all about learning tendencies, and you play against players enough. You know what their plan A is, what they want to go to most, whether they stop their feet, they don't like where you are positionally. They want you to come to them so they can jump to the middle of the ice. Are they the kind of guys that want to drive you back and then they tight curl and then they create a gap in there? He'll learn all that kind of stuff. So I think for now, because what he wants to do, which we all love, he wants to hit. And sometimes you got to be in control. And you hit when it presents itself. And what he does is sometimes he turns at a 90 degree on a player because he wants to finish him right there. That player may have an extra step, and then he gets the edge a little bit. So, but those are all little things he'll learn.
Sam, do you think that Blackwell plays Game 2?
I mean, maybe just as a change it up kind of thing. It's no one in my mind up front played poorly and he deserves to be the healthy scratch. This might be one. Those 4th line guys that were rotating all the way down the stretch. Maybe he comes in and I don't even know, honestly, who comes out, but if that's the only way I see it happening, not for any reason, any poor performances tonight.
Hey Sam, if you
hold that thought. Thanks to everyone who joined on our television platforms. Let's make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldlls.com. All right, we're heading into some overtime. We'll get to all the super chats, but Luds, as we are now in overtime, presented by Bud Light and Happiest Hour. Your question for Sam?
I was just gonna say, if Beck came out and Steele went to the left side, Bork stays on the right side, and you slide Blackwell into the middle, do you think that adds a little more speed, just as a line? And man, it sounds like I'm saying something bad about Beck. I'm not, but I just think that.
Remember, this was his first ever playoff game tonight. He was fine, right?
Fine's not good enough anymore.
No,
I'm just wondering, does it add a little more speed and a little more water buggish? You know what I mean? They can hop around a little bit. Beck goes up and down. You know what I mean? And this is Colorado's a team that they're very structured, and somehow you got to get them out of their structure. And so by crisscrossing and darting through the middle of the ice, and Blackwell's a smaller guy, they become a little bit harder to defend if they're littler guys. And Steele can add that speed coming down the wall and cutting to the net. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just wondering.
To be honest, Luds, I would put Maverick Bork at center. I would put Blackwell on the right wing, and I'd put Maverick Bork at center. I think he's a more responsible player, more natural center. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's Beck looked fine to me, but he's a big, hulkier type of player along the wall. Maybe that fourth line can add a little bit more speed and muck things up a little bit. I thought they did a good job when they were out there. They pinned MacKinnon in his own end a couple times, which is exactly what Dallas needs to do here.
All right, let's get to our super chats here as we try to wrap up our post-game show in some form of time.
Just rattling.
Christian with a Heiskanen 99. Avs were 2-0 up, 2-0 up, and I saw them huddled around up during a stoppage going over strategies while Stars were just sitting on the bench with no direction. Bad optics.
Great optics. And so this was a thing that Bob Gainey had us do when he got to Dallas. Every time there's a stoppage of play, all five guys come together, wherever you are on the ice. And it's a sign of solidarity. We're going to be groups of five all over the ice. And so it's a pack mentality. I love it. And yeah, I agree with that. I didn't notice any of that, but that's what that whole thing is about. It's about guys talking. And a lot of times Bob would be like, I don't care if you're talking about anything. I want them to see you guys in a pack, because the way that we played was kind of just, that five guys all over the ice. And so we wanted to send that image, like, you're going to get one of us, you got to go through all five of us.
Next one.
Bing bang.
Coln with a Heiskanen 99. Can someone please explain why Pete is so obsessed with putting Ben next to our skill guys and dragging them down? 1496-53, that would be Ben, Rantanen, and Johnston, was god-awful tonight. Yes? No?
I don't know if they were god-awful, but I can, like I said, I said kind of in a backhanded way and kind of said the same thing. I'm not throwing, Jamie's Jamie. I mean, he's not 25 years old, and yeah, he's not going to play with the spring chickens. It's hard. Anybody's hard to keep up with Wyatt. Randon can sometimes barely keep up with Wyatt, but they are two skilled guys, and if Jamie can get to the front of the net and create some space, that's kind of what you're hoping for. But yeah, I think you're gonna, and again, I think coaches have to have in mind a little tweak somewhere.
Sam,
yeah,
there was
real quick, I was just gonna say. Oh,
right.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I see a ton of questions about it, so I'm just going to say the Stars have one line right now they're happy with. That everything else is up for shuffling. This was a move they tried. Don't know that it necessarily went well in terms of the top line or the third line. That is all open. So for everyone asking about the Rantanen with Ben and the top line and everything like that, they're missing Jason Robertson. So for right now, none of that is set in stone. The Duchesne line is the only one that I don't see getting any sort of shuffling over the next two games here.
Yeah, I said the same thing coming into the playoffs, regardless. Playoffs to me are about adjustments. Coaches, they have to make adjustments depending on what the other team is doing, and you're gonna play that chess game. And you have to change something to create a little bit more momentum, however you feel fit, but you have to do something.
All right, let's go to the next one. Stars 25 Cup here with a very nice one. Masterton and a 99 Cup. A lot of new names in the comment section just in time for playoffs. Probably haven't watched more than 10 minutes of hockey all season. Anyone who says that this performance was terrible clearly hasn't been watching all season. That's a direct response to some squabbling going on in our chat tonight.
Yeah, well, especially the last couple weeks, 3 weeks, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Bing bang.
Christian with a DeSmith and 99 Cup here. Beck out next game? Question mark. He wasn't good tonight.
Well, did I start that?
No,
Hopefully
this was before our conversation.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't. I just look at it. I don't know. I have no idea. I just look at it to create a little more.
Oh, you can't put Colin Blackwell in, though, Luds, because he's stupid, right?
Okay.
John is really trying to keep that one going.
Although we probably have about 1,000 more people who are going to listen to this and have no idea what that is, and are going to think I'm an a-hole.
The inside jokes, and you're just
we're past
a jerk.
an hour. I'm not going to be the first one to swear on the show tonight.
Next
Bing
one.
bang.
Christopher Lee with a Madonna and 99. They need to look at Blackwell in for Beck. They kept trying to target our fourth line with their first. 10 looks stunned with the pace and physicality. Blackwell is a better matchup to keep up with Makar. Now, the physicality, I don't think bothered Oscar Beck at all.
Well, here's the problem with this. If you feel that they're trying to target the fourth line, to me, that's a coaching thing. You have to adjust to what you have last change.
Yeah.
And
you have the home ice.
You can. That's in the control of the home team coaching staff, and you've got guys. Whether it's spotter or not, you've got guys that should be looking at the other bench and see who they've got coming up, and then you're able to relay that to the head coach and say, "Hey, they got. I saw him tap them on the back. Here's who's coming back," and then you get a little bit of an advantage. So that to me comes from the bench. Now you get on the road, it's a little more difficult. Obviously, you don't have last change, but you can still do those little kind of things on the fly. And sometimes you just put out two guys and you leave one different guy there, and that way you don't have to change the whole line.
Next.
Bing bang.
Go with Matthew with a Lundqvist a year after the Cup. This team took 13 shots 5-on-5 tonight. In all respect, Owen, this team cannot compete in a, quote, offensive slugfest. Really? You're just going to use shots at 5-on-5? Like, that's only part of the game. And shots don't necessarily mean quality shots. They don't necessarily mean good scoring chances.
Yeah, but I think what he's saying, out of the 13 shots 5-on-5, how many were quality? And that's all they got.
Well, but there's also shot attempts that miss, and sometimes they count.
Oh, now you're defending the whole shot attempt thing.
No, what I'm saying is that by the end of the night,
I agree. 13's not enough.
Right, but I actually don't think that Colorado had that much more at 5-on-5 either. Both teams had a bunch on the power play as far as shot attempts and chances. And in the end, both teams had high danger chances. This was not a one-sided thing. And this is not me trying to look for a silver lining that isn't there. I am trying to be not insanely pessimistic and just go, oh, we're going to lose and throw everything away. I don't think that this is the most offensive we've seen the Dallas Stars all year, but yes, they can compete offensively. They don't have to just pack it in, park the bus, and play as defensive New Jersey Devils early 2000s as they could possibly do to win this series. They can win games by outscoring. Did they do it tonight? No, they did not. Next.
Bing bang.
Christopher with another one. This is a Haskin and 99 Cup. 96 is greater with Wyatt going forward, but for this year, I think it's been a forced situation the whole time.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you have a lot of wiggle room, where you're trying to move your lines around.
Yeah, there's only so much they can do. It'll be interesting to see if they do it differently on the road when they don't have last change versus what they're doing at home as far as who they go up with. Makar's Fistula. This is the same account that we had to not say the other stuff earlier.
We're past an hour now, so I guess he's clean, but
clean
still.
Enough. A Lundqvist from him. Dutchy is so hungry out there, and I love him for that.
See, I'm going to go back to the other thing. I think you should start double shifting guys. I do. I think you can. I think you could come back. You could have Jamie out there with, his two guys and be with Wyatt and Rantanen.
You could play Rantanen a little bit more
out there, and all of a sudden next time, instead of going to your fourth line, I think you could throw Wyatt out there with Rantanen and Hintz and try to get some more minutes for Wyatt, get some more minutes for Rantanen if we're going to go down the Rantanen road. And
no forward played over 20 minutes.
I think face-offs, you got a face-off, you got last change at home. I think you could throw, a couple of these guys out there and, but again, it's game one. So tap the brakes on panic tomorrow.
Agreed.
on Wednesday or Friday or whenever the hell game 2 is.
Monday.
Monday.
You were
whatever
close.
day that
Just
is.
keep saying
Bing
names of
bong.
days. We'll
game
get to
2,
it.
the next game.
Ryan with a Lundqvist and a Harley. 1, Dallas got goalied. 2, they play like this and they will win the series. 3, got to execute on chances. My hope meter went from 12% to 90%. Go Stars.
So it went up?
Oh,
He liked it. He's feeling better about this team after this performance.
riding the emotions on that one.
Yes.
I don't know if Dallas got goalied.
Blackwood was very good.
Blackwood was great.
He was good.
And
He didn't let
Listen.
any soft ones in. That's a good thing.
so the first 2 aren't on Jake, right? The one that we kind of highlighted with Bischel and Petro, there's 3.
That's a
One was
backdoor
an
one.
empty netter.
Did
And
you,
then the
did
other
you
one was
see-
a tap-in, wasn't it?
and
The fourth goal?
did
Or no,
you
the
see-
fifth goal?
Coyle.
Did you see?
Fifth
Coyle.
goal was Coyle goal.
Did you see what happened on that?
That was poor.
Look at this.
That was poor.
Yeah, but
That
check
was
this
poor
out.
position.
From the reverse angle, a tip play
Yeah,
by
I know
Drury
that. I know that.
right
And-
into the pet.
but
That's
see,
a bang
but,
play.
But Bischel shouldn't go over there. You don't have to go there.
He's chasing.
There's no reason to go there. Just hold the back.
They
hold the far
They
post.
chase too much.
Where
Yeah.
that puck
They
is.
do that too much.
I
Jake's
see what
got
you're
that.
saying. Yep.
Bing
He's coming
bong.
across the crease there. Christopher Lee. That's a hat trick for Christopher Lee. A Lundqvist and a Sagan. Oh,
Whoa.
that almost landed on the Bud
Wow.
Light, let alone the. But I can actually get it back to you. Ready?
Nice throw, John.
Owen.
I just
Did
threw
that
it
get stuck?
and it got stuck
That's
on
stuck
top
up
of
in
the
the light,
light.
Sam.
the light fixture.
Up in
Sam.
the lights.
It's
The
like
good
up.
news is that we'll be able to grab the hockey stick and get it down in a little bit.
This is gonna be like a
That's
Sandlot
amazing.
situation, though. In like 20 years, another producer is gonna find my hat hanging.
It's going to
from,
come
the
falling
wires.
down during the Mavs show, and they're going to go, what the heck? The fact that Petro is playing for us in the playoffs tells me this team's biggest offseason need is a top 4 right-handed D. Without using the hockey
Maybe.
stick, are you just going to go vert on that?
Well, but then again, you got to remember Miro's going to be back. So, we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see.
what they try to
have
do in the
Lyubushkin under contract. They have Dumba under contract. You have Miro. You could play all those. I thought they'd go for maybe trying to re-sign CC long term, or at least for a couple years. But Luds, after you're going to try to show this, aren't you? Yeah, he is. So we're in overtime now. John's working on trying to get a shot of the hat on top of a light
Oh,
fixture.
can we swear now?
Yes,
Oh, really? Okay.
I guess. If
Right
you-
now, I have to
if
stop
you
saying.
must.
Well, just checking.
So, with the Rantanen money and the Wyatt extension, we'll see where that all goes. That's for another day, though.
Yeah, we're not out of the playoffs right now. This is game
No, we got this same. Let's keep this roster going, and then we'll get into that. Trying to vamp for a second here, though, because there goes John to give us our next super chat, and then, of course, the view of the hat.
Bing bong.
You're gonna have to comment. Well, so the brightness isn't great, so
the hell is
Owen's
that
gonna
thing?
have to
That's the light.
commentate because of the
That's up
camera.
there.
But
Why,
I need to
what's
get it
going
there so
on
that
here?
people can see my hops.
This looks like one of those drones that
watch
were
us.
flying
Hold on,
around in
hold on. Let's
Sam's
see if
backyard.
my
My
white
hops,
balance is off.
my
John's
hops,
gonna
my
try to
hops,
jump
my
this.
hops.
Ready?
That looks like a
my-
drone flying around up there in Sam's
There's
backyard in
John's
Jersey.
hand. Yeah.
My
You're not even
lovely
in the frame.
lady
You know that.
hops.
There's nothing going on.
He
up
got
there.
it. Show it to the camera. No, up that one.
Yeah, you
The one
can't-
that you changed it to. There it is. He got it.
Oh yeah, that's good
Christopher
TV.
Lee with a
Good TV.
Brendan Smith. Besides re-signing 95, so he said he's saying that maybe re-signing Duchesne is more important than a top 4 right-handed defenseman. Again, maybe a lot of conversation during the offseason. We're not anywhere close to that yet. It's only one loss in the playoffs. All right, John, let's go to the next one as he has his hat back in hand as the camera is pointing. to
Bing
me.
bong.
And we've got Makar's fistula again with keep shelling him out. This one's an Oscar Beck. Any chance Messi can come into training camp and teach bicycle kicks? Talking about the Lekhonen goal, right?
You mean the soccer guy, Messi?
That's who he is. Yes.
Okay, not my.
It's only Messi that I
You
know
might
of.
have to take that one, Sam.
I say we just
Bing
move
bong.
on.
Stars 25 Cup year with a Haskin and 99. Can we win a face-off? Don't know the numbers, but I feel like
They were 2% apart, so they're almost 50-50 tonight.
I feel like
Yeah.
we only want.
And Dallas should be a better face-off team.
Says I feel like we only want a handful all night. Fourth
Well,
line
it's
is
the
automatic.
offensive zone face-offs. I think that there were some that should have been.
The Stars
down.
Bloods were behind after the first and second periods, and that was a little bit surprising. It was 13-8 in the first period, Colorado. Then it was 23-18 in the second, and by the end of the night, it was, as you said, 31-30. It was essentially a wash. Stars, I know Colorado scored 3 times in the third period, but they didn't have a lot of shots in the third. Again, they had the lead,
Efficient.
but Dallas was, I thought, was better at getting possession in that period.
Bing bang.
Yep. Brendan Jones with a Heiskanen 99. Do you think if it keeps going south, we'll see a Capobianco or a Blumel?
No.
I do not.
Agreed. And I thought our drop said it perfectly, John.
Bing bang.
Christopher with another one. This is a Brendan Smith. I feel honored by the hat trick throw, John. And by the
Stop
way,
sending super chats if you really want to honor me so I can go to bed.
if you're going to do that, Christopher, you've got to spell his name right. It's John, not Jon.
Trying to decide if even past the overtime I can put the next comment up.
Well, this is the producer's decision here.
Wait.
Discretion. Producer's discretion.
I know. We're just trying to get our super chats done.
Oh.
Here. We are.
I was
Is this one of
wondering
those
what you guys
ask
were talking
for
about.
forgiveness and not permission moments?
John is about to, he's trying to decide,
Sure.
Luds, we haven't seen it, about whether or not he
Do
should
it.
go.
I'll just
Do
describe it.
it.
Basically,
Do
it's from Stars 25 Cup here again, asking if anybody saw. It was one of those things where they put an attractive woman behind the coach.
Oh, yeah. See what size? Bra size girl?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically the question.
Oh, Luds
Her
definitely
bra
saw.
size is Stanley Cup.
It said, her shirt said, my
I
cup
didn't see
size
it.
is Stanley.
Yeah.
With Stars logos all over it. That's from Stars 25 Cup here. Yes, that was noticed.
Bing
We got
bang.
another one.
Guess who just had to slip one more in?
Another Oscar Beck. Is Sam sitting on a block of ice?
I don't think so. Why do I look cold?
Sam's
The
got
ice is
calloused
behind me.
ass from Spirit Airlines anyway.
No, I'm not. I'm sitting on the. Actually, I'm sitting on Owen's old desk in the radio booth.
Oh, you're in the radio booth tonight. Yep.
Yeah.
Get some quiet there. Sam, practice tomorrow?
Yeah. Noon.
OPT?
Not as of now. I'm sure they'll tell us at
I don't think everybody will be
11:40 when Pete changes it.
Well, any final thoughts, Sam or Luds? We'll start with Sam before we wrap this one up. It's been long enough.
Yeah, no, I said it all at the beginning, but I'm excited to see if they can take the next step, because I really feel like I don't want to say it's a must win Monday because they did it against Vegas last year, but going down 9 straight losses into Colorado feels like a hole this team may not be able to climb out of. So I think they need to go from better to figuring out a way to win this game on Monday, and that's what I'm hoping to see.
You empty the tank on whatever day it is, because
Wednesday, Friday.
to win 4 out of 5 against this team.
Yep.
You empty the tank on Monday.
It's not officially a mathematical must-win, but you're right. It's pretty heavily odds are against you if you do not find a way to make it 1-1. If it's 0-2, they've done it. They did it last year, in fact, but you'd rather not. So that's it for tonight. The Stars lose game 1. We will have our next show on
Happy
Monday.
Easter, everybody.
We're off tomorrow, which is Easter.
Oh my God, Easter.
And then we
I got
have
50 eggs to hide.
game 2 on
You guys
Monday.
you aren't coming to practice?
I have 4 Dallas Cup finals to broadcast in Frisco tomorrow, Sam.
Sam, I have
Happy
50
Easter.
eggs to hide.
I know.
I thought that was a condom for a second.
It is
No.
overtime.
I haven't used those since Nam.
John is going, hurry up before there's another bing bong.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back on Monday night. It's the later start, an hour later. So we will be on at, I believe, what time is it? I better make sure I don't get it wrong.
They have
Game
2 days to
2,
figure it
I'm
out.
working
Monday
on
night,
getting the day right.
7:45 Central
What
Time
day
pregame
is that?
show. Monday.
Oh, Monday? All
Game
right.
2, Stars and Avs.
Thank you, Bud Light.
Have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Easter, everybody. We'll see you Monday here on DLLS.
No.
Did you just spill that?
Nope, it's completely empty.
We all silly like the mayor.